Reform Press Conference for March 21st, 2025. I am your moderator, Shanika Hayes. Joining today's presser is Ms. Coretta McDonald, Member of Parliament and Shadow Minister of Education. Also joining is Mr. Elson Lowe, Treasurer of the People's National Congress Reform and Economist. Today's press statement will be read in two parts, and we will begin with the reading from Mr. Elson Lowe.
Private Sector Commission's statement on voluntary unemployment misses the complexity of Guyana's labor situation. The PNCRA-PNU has taken note of the statement by the Private Sector Commission that unemployment in Guyana is, quote-unquote, largely voluntary. According to the PSC, no one should be without a job, as jobs are available for all Guyanese, with an ongoing shortage of both skilled and unskilled labor. In joining the discussion, we wish to first point out that the mere presence of protracted vacancies or job openings does not imply the absence of persons who are willing to or searching for work. To so conclude would be an oversimplification of the several challenges that characterize Guyana's labor market. Secondly, let us re-emphasize that the absence of an updated and comprehensive labor survey introduces a high degree of uncertainty in the discussion, as analysis must solely rely on old data, anecdotal evidence, best guesses, and unsystematic observations. Guyanese must reject the PUP's negative and hostile attitude toward data collection and analysis, as exemplified by Vice President Jagdeo's baseless comment that, quote-unquote, everybody knows there is work in Guyana. We believe that this careless attitude must not be allowed to permeate Guyana's culture, but rather that we must instill a level of thoughtfulness and statistical rigor to decision-making. We commit once more to carrying out the necessary studies on Guyana's labor needs. These studies are critical for informed discussion and for planning both for the government and the private sector. The PSC must therefore join us in rebuking the government for failing to produce the Guyana Labor Force Survey since the last quarter of 2021. The PSC must also join our call for the government to urgently release the 2022 census report and the results of any ongoing labor survey when completed. Thirdly, a full discussion requires an examination of the issue of structural unemployment, which, in the Guyana context, mostly manifests itself where persons cannot fill vacancies because A, they are unskilled and feel marginalized, B, their skills do not match the available and accessible jobs, C, no training in skilling, reskilling, and upskilling is available, affordable, or accessible, D, there is gender, racial, or age discrimination, E, there is involuntary employment because of family circumstances, F, information about vacancies is not widely and systematically disseminated, and G, the prohibitive transportation and accommodation barriers that prevent more indigenous people from participating in the labor force. Fourthly, we must examine the issue of government part-time workers. The ranks of the part-time workforce continue to swell, the government budgeting for 18,000 persons in 2025. This is an underutilized and misused resource that could be redirected toward more productive activities through training for the benefit of the participants themselves and the private sector as well. As the next government, how do we plan to address the situation? Among other measures, we will, 1, establish a more comprehensive data gathering system on the economy and the labor force. Our economic development plan will be data-driven and results-oriented. The Bureau of Statistics will be upgraded and expanded. Its information will be freely available to the public and to businesses. We will, for example, release the census report immediately on taking office. 2, we will invest heavily in skilling, upskilling, and reskilling programs. Training centers will be located and operated to cater for persons in different circumstances. This investment will encompass current part-time workers who are desirous of gaining full-time jobs. We will pay a stipend of $50,000 a month throughout the duration of the training. We will expand the job placement scheme. We are told, for instance, that hundreds of truck drivers are needed. We will put in place measures to train Guyanese to fill such a gap. 3, Similarly, we believe that Guyana's young people need support through a robust education system and job placement mechanism. The PUP's legacy of poor performance has meant roughly 80% of Guyanese do not have a mathematics and English pass at CSEC, which is a shameful statistic. We will invest in technical and vocational education, as well as the University of Guyana. We will overhaul our education system to ensure students have the tools they need to find jobs, start businesses, and succeed. 4. Just as critical is the need to help women access jobs. We will establish a nationwide childcare system using both state-owned and privately run centers. We will ensure women are fairly compensated and conditions of work cater for their special needs and circumstances. We have consistently spoken about Guyana's low labor force participation rate and are committed to helping women who are interested in the formal workforce reach their career goals. And 5, we will also explore amending labor law and policy to encourage retirement age workers to remain in the workforce once they are still able and interested in meaningful employment. As the next government, we commit to helping Guyanese attain the skills they need to succeed, to generating thousands of high-paying jobs, to supporting women, young people, and other disadvantaged groups, and to helping workers find appropriate jobs. Placing the blame for unemployment on citizens is not helpful. Rather, we need to confront our country's needs and proactively work together to solve them. Guyanese can look forward to a PNCR APNU government that recognizes the need for change come the next election.
Thank you. MP Coretta McDonald.
As we call for an investigation into gold, PNCR APNU government will cleanse and revamp the program. The PNCR APNU calls for full transparency and accountability regarding the ongoing crisis surrounding the Guyana Online Academy of Learning, GOAL, and its failed partnership with the International Skill Development Cooperation, ISDC, and Staffordshire University. GOAL, as we were told, was established with the noble objective of expanding access to higher education for Guyanese students. However, recent revelations suggest serious mismanagement, lack of transparency, and potential financial irregularities under this current leadership. Over 1,400 students who were awarded scholarship to study at Staffordshire University have now found themselves in a state of uncertainty, with Staffordshire denying any formal relationship with ISDC or GOAL. This betrayal of public trust raises critical questions that must be answered. Let us announce upfront that as the next government, we will revamp and enhance the entire program. In particular, we will, 1, first conduct a national skills needs assessment to identify the priority areas of study for our people-centered national development strategy, while respecting personal choices of applicants. 2, restructure and place the GOAL program under the University of Guyana's management to ensure quality control and coordination. 3, deal directly with overseas universities and not with shadowy third party agencies. 4, include GOAL graduates in our national job placement scheme. And 5, rename and rebrand the program to refresh and uplift its image. However, as matters stand now, we demand full transparency and accountability and call for 1, the immediate resignation of Professor Jacob Obadiah and Minister Priya Manik Chand for their roles in misleading students and mismanaging public funds. 2, a full parliamentary inquiry and forensic audit of GOAL's financial records, with all agreements, particularly those with ISDC, UNICAF, and other third-party affiliates being made public. 3, immediate intervention to provide affected students with legitimate alternatives, allowing them to complete their studies at the University of Guyana or other accredited local institutions, instead of being forced into yet another round of questionable foreign partnership. This situation is not just about mismanagement. It is about the future of our young people who were promised access to higher education. We will not allow gold to become a vehicle for financial misappropriation or failed leadership. The government of Guyana must act decisively to restore public confidence in this program and ensure that those responsible for this saga are held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take questions on the press statement.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Sister McDonald, you're talking about gold. Do you have any record of the people who have graduated from gold and where they happen to be at this time? Have they been offered an increase in emoluments, for example, after having received that certificate?
Well, we actually don't have a record of all the persons who would have completed so far. What we have at present are a number of teachers who have complained bitterly. About 35 of them have completed the program and they're still awaiting their upgrade and emoluments.
Thank you.
And what did they get? Having studied, what area of degree did they pursue? Masters, doctorate, bachelors, what did they pursue?
Some have pursued a master's, others have done their first degree, and some of them have done certificate programs.
But that being the case, I would like to know which universities did they get this award from, and how recognized are these universities?
Well, that's the difficulty we're having right now because most of them have been attached to quote unquote universities that are in India. I know a few of them were quote unquote again, presumably attached to the same Staffordshire University. And that's where we're having the difficulties, where teachers are now finding themselves in this boat sailing all alone with no one being able to tell them exactly where are they going to go in terms of having their upgrades and having their emolument.
Thank you.
Adam, we want to make the point that a lot of people would have been able to pursue legitimate studies with goals. So we're not saying that every program that's offered and every degree is problematic in any way. Rather, what we're saying is that Guyanese at minimum should expect that a government scholarship program should be dealing with the appropriate institutions, accredited institutions, and should be safeguarding taxpayers' money. And so the fact that that is not immediately clear, and the fact that this is boiled over into a scandal of monumental proportions, really speaks ill of the government. What we will do is, as we mentioned, we'll conduct the relevant inquiry and ensure that those students who have been able to benefit from those students who have actually been able to complete legitimate programs are able to benefit from higher salaries and so on. And those who need further support because they've been misled by the PUP are provided with that support. It is just a tragedy that 1,400 students are now wrapped up in this. And I think that, people's education is a sacred thing. But it seems like there's nothing sacred for this particular government.
As a matter of fact, Adam, let me say to you and to all those watching us here, the Gold Scholarship, the fact that this was established, it was established in mind as a slush fund. Let me say that from the onset. All that was happening now is that we were putting on some makeup on what we were doing, and we were placing students here, there, and everywhere without fully knowing that we weren't connected to anywhere else but to this slush fund that was going to go into the pockets of some persons and might have been going to aid a campaign.
Thank you. I see the hand of Mr. Shaw.
Yes. Good morning, Ms. McDonald. Ms. McDonald, could you say whether over the last 4 or so years, any steps have been taken to peruse the financials or the spending of gold before the Public Accounts Committee? And if so, what did what was revealed in that examination?
Well, I can't speak directly for the PAC, but I know there were questions that were raised in Parliament concerning the gold program, the entire operations of gold. And you know as well as I know, and others would know, when you ask these questions in Parliament, the kind of vague answers you receive. When you write seeking answers, the kind of vague responses you receive as well. The goal with regards to PAC, the minister who's with responsibility for public service, who happens now to be the very minister who has responsibility for finance. They would give you the vague answers. We have been pressing for this, and I know coming very shortly, the PAC is going to be asking for all financial dealings or agreements to be placed on the table. Coming from Minister Sonia Parag, who was there as the Minister of Public Service, asking questions at the level of Parliament and asking questions outside of Parliament. Again, vague answers, and you were always promised that reports are going to be submitted. And so these kinds of vague responses would lead one to believe, or would lead one to exactly what is happening here, where there was never any definite agreement. And so we were just running helter-skelter and placing students wherever we wanted to place them, just to make a show that, hey, we are allowing students to have access to higher learning.
Dennis, we would also want to always remind that the PUP changed the rules for the Public Accounts Committee, the quorum rules, and as a result, you've not seen, I think it's 50-something meetings or something like that. A large number of meetings have been missed, have not been carried out, and if those meetings had been carried out, we might have been able to scrutinize goal. So it is due to the government's deliberate attempt to avoid transparency that we're seeing what we're seeing right now. And if you look at, 1,400 students is a lot of students, and some folks have indicated the tuition for these universities in the tens of thousands of pounds. This is billions and billions of Guyana dollars that you're talking about. That has not been appropriately scrutinized due to stymieing the Public Accounts Committee. And very little has been said, nothing really has been said about Guyana getting its money back. At the end of the day, we need to know what was paid out to this company and when exactly we're going to get our money back. That is something that the government has been dodging. But this is the people's money, not their personal money. We need to know when we're getting our money back. And the government needs to be clear on that.
Questions on the first statement? Mr.
On
Harris.
on the same goal, I listened to a statement by Mr. Okadei that he's taking some entity to court. This was the third party, the one who was supposed to be responsible for placing students. And it had to do with the University of Staffordshire. Now, 14,000 students were granted scholarships based on, according to the reports, no placement since this university was offering no such scholarship. Has there been a hue and cry about this? The failure we spent, I think it was $3 or $4 billion to fund gold over the past year or so. And the students have not been placed, although money has been paid. What is the opposition doing in the face of this disclosure?
In the face of this disclosure, and not only now, but we have been asking these questions all the time because students have been complaining. They've been complaining about the time frame within which they have to be up to attend classes. They've been complaining about the language barrier. They've been complaining about submitting assignments, not getting responses, not being able to get it, to have access to classes. And we've been asking all of these questions. And like everything else, the PPP government, they always have an answer to give you that is not really an answer. What we have urging and what we've been urging then and we're urging now is that those students be directed to the University of Guyana. Of course, time has been lost with what they've already, because they've been in the classes before, but we should direct them to the University of Guyana so that they can complete their programs.
Thank you.
One last question.
Go ahead.
Were some of these programs being offered at the University of Guyana? And since they were all online programs, why weren't they pursued at the University of Guyana?
Again, yes, some of these programs are offered, or the majority of these programs are being offered at the University of Guyana. And you would know too that our university is offering online programs as well. And so we found it very, very strange that the government of Guyana, the PPP's government, would seek to engage other universities rather than giving first preference to our university here and having the majority of our students being enlisted as part of the Guyana, the University of Guyana. What we have also noticed is that the students going over to, for example, Jade University in India, many of our Guyanese students are there, and you're having the issue of, again, language barrier and all the likes. We're hoping that this here will be an experience, a learning experience for this government. And so that going into any kind of arrangement with this, it would have one, public consultation, and everything would be thrown on the table so Guyanese citizens at large would be able to see exactly what is happening, where it's happening, the type of hours that I have to spend to attend classes, and they are going to make their choices whether they want to be part of this program or they want to attend the University of Guyana right here.
Adam, at the end of the day, a lot of what's going on here doesn't add up. The University of Guyana is well established and is our national university, and it was always bizarre that it was not supported in the way that it really should be supported. We've also heard that the reason that this third-party supplier was engaged is because they could, I think, quote-unquote, negotiate a volume discount with the university. But it seems to me that if the Guyana government is going to be procuring 1,400 degrees, that the Guyana government could negotiate a discount with this university. So what specifically is the reason that we engage with this third party? That is not clear. And, you know, it makes you wonder if in a hypothetical world, if the government wanted to offer courses through UG, whether some company would suddenly pop up to negotiate between the government of Guyana and UG. Because it seems that out of nowhere, you've got companies being involved when there was never any reason for a company to be involved. That's why we're saying we need to see an audit here. We need the details of this to come out because something is not adding up, and the people of Guyana deserve to know the truth about what has been going on.
Thank you. The floor is still open for questions.
Well, here, I don't know.
You
You
can go
say
ahead.
some teachers have graduated with masters or been awarded masters. Has any local entity employed such qualified, quote unquote, teachers? Could they, for example, apply for a job at UG with this masters or what have you?
Well, the teachers who have applied, who have gained their master's degree and first degree, they have to go through the process of being accredited by the National Accreditation Council, which I think is the way, is putting the horse before the cart, putting the cart before the horse. Because if we're going to engage these universities and we're going to have a goal academy set up, then all the programs that are being offered there should have been accredited by our local agency here and other agencies overseas, so that when the student would have completed his or her course of study, then you don't have to go through that long process again of going to seek accreditation. What you're going to do is to move to your agency, like for example, the Ministry of Education. You apply there at the Ministry of Education for upgrade. You go through the Teaching Service Commission, who would have the document there from the National Accreditation Council, highlighting all the universities that would have been accredited. And so that when students come there for their upgrade, all you need to do is sign off on that. And then students are given their upgrade with the relevant notification and the document with regards to the salary emoluments or salary increases that they're supposed to be having. But that is not what is happening. When students would have completed there, they have to go through the long process of going through NAC for NAC to verify again. And so that's another process that they have to wait before their accreditation can be approved, and then go to the Teaching Service Commission for another process. And so to cut out all of this, we should be looking at just like what we're doing at the University of Guyana. But again, we know that every time we have a middleman there, it reminds us of what happened during the COVID period, when we had to go through a middleman to get the vaccines, when we could have gone directly to the producers. And so that middleman there serves the purpose of putting extra monies in somebody's pockets. And we want to know who are those persons that those monies have been going into their pockets. And we're asking again for this audit, because somebody must be made to repay these monies that would have been paid.
Thank you. At this stage, I'll take about 2 questions off of the press statement. I have one in-house.
Good morning, Trina Williams, Guyana Chronicle. The U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. Rubio, will visit Guyana next week. Will the PNC register their dissatisfaction with the detention of social media commentator Melly Mel? And will you lobby for her release?
I'm smiling. You know why I'm smiling? Because we read 2 statements here that completed our press statement, and there was nothing mentioned about that. But we understand why you have to ask that question, and we would be happy for you to ask those very questions when you have the Thursday press conference as well. But like everything else, Melly Mel again is Guyanese, and whatever we have to do to ensure that there is no silencing of freedom of speech, we will do that, and we will do it at the appropriate time.
So is that a yes or a no?
We will do whatever we have to do to ensure that, one, we continue to preach democracy the very way the PPP preaches democracy, and we will continue to shout for freedom of speech just the same way they shout for freedom of speech. And we will do it when it's appropriate for us to do that.
Okay, and
just 1 second. I have 2 other journalists, and remember, I did say I'll take 2 questions. So at this stage, I'm at 3. Mr. Shabral?
Yes, good day to Mr. Zulu. Can you say what are your chances of becoming the presidential candidate for the coalition? And what would be some of the things you'd like to see being done if you were to give the nod?
Mr. Shabral, you woke up today and you chose violence, man. Listen, at the end of the day, the party has been clear regarding its presidential candidate. If the party is going to make a change, that will be announced through formal channels. And we look forward as a party to contesting the next elections robustly. So that is where I would leave it. I would say thank you for the vote of confidence, but I think I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Aren't you considered it?
Mr. Shabral, first of all, that would definitely be something for the internal consumption. But secondly, I would say that, as I've mentioned, the party has put forward its position. If it's going to change that position, that will be communicated publicly. And that I think is the appropriate way to deal with these matters.
Distraction or not? Are you is your name included? That's all I want.
Mr. Shabral, that's not for me to put forward. As I said, we have a party, and we focus on dealing with things in a structured manner, and so that's not something I would comment on. Other than to say that, as I said, you woke up today and chose violence.
Thank you. And I will take my final question from Ms. Williams and Anissa, if I'm not correct.
No, so it's Patrice. Can you guys hear me?
Sort of. Go ahead, let's hear.
So, Mr. Lowe, good morning. I actually have two quick questions. Can I go ahead?
Go ahead.
All right, firstly, Mr. Lowe, the Exxon was supposed to submit additional documents for these 7 projects, and while government still seems iffy on the approval of this project, they've also been looking to seek approval for an 8th project. However, the concern by a lot of citizens, and this question has been asked to the Vice President before, is if from the 7th project going forward, Guyanese will be able to see additional fiscal benefits. However, the Vice President yesterday said that currently there are no discussions to address additional fiscal benefits for Guyanese from these projects. Looking at the stages of where Exxon is seeking approval for 2 additional projects, what is the PNC stance on the issue of additional fiscal benefits for Guyanese? And my second question is, with current and projected drop in oil prices, what is the party's stance now on ring-fencing the projects?
Thank you very much for your questions. We've repeatedly said that when any new project is going to be coming on stream, the government needs to conduct the appropriate studies, whether that is hiring the appropriate expertise to conduct these studies so that they can make informed decisions. Now, these studies and this process does not need to take forever and a day, but we need to ensure that we have robust technical capacity to engage in these studies, and so that we have a good sense of the benefits to our country of these projects and how they will play out. We have been concerned for some time that the government is more focused on approving projects without having spent much time thinking about how these projects will benefit Guyanese. And we've already said that we will engage the operator when in office to get more for Guyanese. So that is our general stance. What we would like to really help Guyanese to see, though, is that we have to understand that Guyana is one of the more significant producers of oil that has emerged in the past few years, and that will be producing oil at a rate that surpasses, on a per capita basis, every country in this world. To me, it is shocking that the government would not put in place a robust capacity to deal with this industry, to deal with these types of approvals, and to ensure that these approvals meet our expectations, that these projects meet our expectations. What you've got right now is a government that has huge responsibility and lacks the capacity to deal with those responsibilities. We will not go down that road, and we will ensure that we immediately put in place that expertise when it comes to reviewing any of these projects and approving any of these projects. And, there's likely to be additional projects in the future. So this is something that we as a country must build out, and we want to make that totally clear. Additionally, as we have said, we will review various aspects of the existing frameworks, including the question of ring fencing. We see benefits. We also see some constraints. And so we want to engage expertise in order to deal with this issue, which we will be doing when in office. We've seen also, as you mentioned, there's some question around oil price volatility. It would be very hypocritical of me to come here and say, we will definitely ring fence ABC without us having the appropriate expertise of an international standard. We are going to ensure that Guyana's oil industry is governed as it should be, as a world-class industry should be governed. And that, to me, is the right approach to take. Otherwise, you will see the same chaos that you're seeing in the PDP right now, where one person says this, makes this decision, and so on, and then we're left wondering why in God's name did this happen the way that it happened. That's not going to be our approach. That's not acceptable to us, and the people of Guyana should reject that.
Thank you. All right.
One quick follow-up, if I may.
Sure.
So I understand that you said by government, the PNC will be meeting with the operator, but the issue is currently now. I would like to know specifically, does the party have any plans, or would the party be willing to meet with the government to say, look, we're getting these projects done, but the people need more. Can you lobby the operator for additional fiscal benefits currently for the projects that you want to approve for this year?
Well, listen, the key thing that we want to emphasize is this. Nothing is stopping the government from hiring expertise. What's stopping the government from hiring expertise other than a refusal to engage with these issues? So what we, of course, would advise the government and have advised the government is that they need to get that expertise so that they are properly informed when they're making these decisions, not just getting their way along. And so when we press for expertise, we will put in place that expertise. But we're saying right now, the government needs to get that expertise here and run this oil industry like a world-class oil industry, rather than just bluffing their way along. And so right now, tomorrow, the government can put out a tender for that expertise to come in and to assist. What is stopping them from doing that other than a commitment to incompetence?
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. At this stage, I want to thank our media personnel for joining today's press, and of course, our viewing audience. We would like to thank you, and we do hope that you have a wonderful afternoon and weekend.